A Long Island mom who took matters into her own hands to track down her son's bullies and ran over a 15-year-old twice was acquitted of attempted murder by a grand jury of her peers earlier this week. The jury trial of Jennifer Nielsen, now 36, began in mid-September and ended Tuesday with Nielsen's acquittal on second-degree attempted murder and first-degree assault charges. When the mom from Shirley, New York, was indicted in February, Nielsen was also accused of leaving the scene without reporting the accident that resulted in serious physical injuries, i.e., multiple broken ribs and pelvis fractures, a Class C felony. That was the only offense she was convicted of committing. Suffolk District Attorney Raymond A. Turney, whose office is currently prosecuting the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer, previously slammed the adult mom for thinking that she could take the law into her own hands by bringing a bat and a knife with her on October 7th of 2022 to a parking lot near William Floyd High School in Mastic Beach to confront the bullies who allegedly broke her son's nose and concussed him. This defendant's incredibly misguided attempt to avenge the alleged victimization of her own child is no excuse. Citizens cannot take the law into their own hands and should work instead with law enforcement and my office to seek justice in every case. Newsom believed that the 15-year-old was part of a group of teens bullying her son and even robbing the boy of his sneakers and AirPod. But charges were only brought against two of the teens in connection with the robbery. Quote, she believed that the students who participated in the robbery targeting her son earlier that day were still present at a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot, and she allegedly wanted to confront them. Once in the parking lot, Nilsson threatened a group of students while brandishing a knife and a small bat. During this incident, the victim left the parking lot and walked across the street to the parking lot of Manhattan Bagel. When the 15-year-old walked away, Nilsson followed him at a high rate of speed and drove directly at the victim who was standing in the parking lot, running over him twice. Later that day of the incident, Nilsson traded in her leased Honda SUV, even though the lease had not expired yet, which the DA interpreted as an attempt to conceal the vehicle was used in an offense. Newsday reported that Nilsson testified at trial that she did not know that she ran over any of the teens. Quote, I would have called police if I knew I had hit someone. I didn't feel relief because this has been a lot, on me, my son, just everybody involved. It's been a lot. After the verdict, Nilsson stated how she felt with these words, not guilty. Twice on the most serious charges she faced, she stated, I don't know. I'm just happy with the outcome. Later, Nielsen stated that she thought that she didn't visibly react in court to the verdicts as instructed by her lawyer. Her heart was racing. Quote, I was checking my watch and it was telling me that my heart rate was like 130. In summary, what began as a case that could have put Nielsen behind bars for up to 25 years ended with a conviction that could result in 1 to 4 years of punishment and a fine, not less than 1,000 nor more than $5,000 in addition to any other penalties provided by law. Nielsen's attorney, Catherine Fernandez, stated that given her client's lack of prior criminal record, the judge could sentence her to probation for the nonviolent felony. Judge Timothy P. Mazzi set sentencing at 9 a.m. on December 4th for the next hearing. I'll say this, that too many times and far too often, I've done stories where you have other people's kids that will decide to run amok either across the city, within the neighborhood, or abroad. And the parents of these children don't do anything. They don't come to social media. They don't go directly to the police to turn their kids in. They don't do anything to discipline their children at all. They just allow them to run rampant and wild. And I've told people countless times that there will come a point in time, and more than likely a lot of people won't like it, that you will have other people handling your kids the way that you should have technically handled them. And the main thing that you happen to hear from the public is that people would say that, oh, well, if that was my child and she did that to my child, then it would be a fight. Then it would be two people directly on trial or going to jail, or somebody would be making it to trial, right? Somebody would always have these type of sayings, right? To seem brave and big and bold, right? But they could easily carry and use that example to kids directly in their family, but yet they don't. They don't use that same type of logic when it deals with family or when it deals with neighbors. When it deals with somebody else's children that they can visibly see that are going through something, they don't use that exact same energy. And especially when it comes to social media, you don't see a lot of that same energy. So, again, for those out there who have children that will run amok, that act as though that they don't have any type of home training, which in this case, obviously these kids didn't, due to the fact that they wanted to rob somebody of their shoes and their AirPods, which they could have easily gotten a job or a side hustle in order to acquire those things themselves. They choose to go out into the world and try to take the easiest route, and that is going to further lead to more and more criminal type of behavior due to the fact that they got away with it once, they think that they're going to get away with it multiple times, and that there is no recourse for any of their actions, especially the negative actions that they decide to perform out there in public. So, again, if you decide to allow your children as an adult who is sheltering these kids, who are feeding these kids, who are clothing these kids, somebody out there is going to discipline or take care of that child when you should have as the parent. And you're not going to like how it is that somebody decides to come at or discipline or decides to take the law in their own hands and protect their child because you decided not to teach your child how to properly conduct themselves when it deals with society and the world. For me, this mother didn't do anything wrong. She did what it is that a lot of parents would have done, especially in her circumstances. She didn't have anybody to lean on. She didn't have anybody to go to talk to. I've covered a lot of stories before where parents would go directly to the school system and the school system would do nothing. Parents would go directly to the police and, provide a lot of reports and they would have files and the police would do nothing. And inevitably, sooner or later, that same child of which the parent tried to go all of these alternative routes, they would more than likely end up losing the life of said child trying to take other avenues and routes in order to get things calmed down. So, again, within this story, all of the adults, from the prosecutor's office to the police to the court system to the school system, all of these individuals, and including the parents of the bullies, all of them failed in this instance to protect the children that were specifically involved. If the prosecutor's office really wants to do their job, then how about you bring up charges against the parents of said children who are going out here robbing other children, and sooner or later they're going to grow up and they're going to start robbing everybody else. How about bringing up charges against them to teach them a lesson?